the emergency procedures for short jacking. Short jacking, stabilizer is not fully extended. Warning, manual stabilizer override controls. Do not operate these manual overrides controls unless you have been trained in a safe operation of the device. You're aware of the aerial position. Raising a stabilizer jack may cause the truck to tip over. You have a second person to monitor the position of the stabilizer that you can't very clearly see. So if you had a car in here that you needed to get around, you need somebody over there kind of seeing where your jack's going to go, you know, or you're obstructed view-wise. You're aware that safety devices are being overridden. Death or serious injury will result if the above statement is not observed. Warning, manual area overrides. You must not operate these manual overrides unless you've been trained in the safe operation device. You're aware of the stabilizer positions. Operating the position without the proper stabilization may cause the truck to tip over. You have a second person to monitor the positions that are not clearly visible. And you are aware that the aerial may be retracted beyond electrical safety limits and can damage the cab. An aerial device will result. You are aware that the safety devices are being overridden. Death or serious injury will result if is not observed. On occasion, it is necessary to set up the confined space when stabilizers cannot be extended to one side. Safe operation shall be limited to the stabilizers are fully extended. See the diagram. You got the diagram right here showing what side you're short jacked on, what side you have normal stabilization on, and where your operating limits are.
And that is in a training guide. Okay, so you can see how on this side of the vehicle we have two stabilizers that are not fully extended, short jack. Over here on the back, what you're going to have, you're still going to have all of your green lights, okay, because the truck is in its good range. We're making good solid contact on the ground, okay, so those are not, while those should be lit up, those are not contraindicators of any problem. This light should be on. Stabilizer is not fully extended. Okay, that light is on, telling us that if you are going to get that aerial out of its cradle, you have to have someone down here on the ground doing this override. Okay. Like we just showed you up there on the aerial, when you go into the cradle, there's the switch up there. Okay. So you have to hold this down long enough to get it out of the cradle. Once that switch is not activated any longer, you can let this go and you can operate the stick normally within the limits that the truck will allow you to do, which is a 180, okay, only on this side of the truck. It is actually off a couple of degrees, so it will allow you to go past center a couple degrees to the right, and the same thing back here. It stops you short, okay? So the picture is fairly accurate. Okay, so let's get somebody up there on the pedestal. The aerial out of its cradle, nothing, right? Okay. So at this point, remember again, it's important that we're going to ask that only officers are controlling the overrides. So you would contact me somehow and say, hey, I need an override, okay? Or I would already know, so I walk back here now. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I guess so.
And you should have normal operation. Okay. So go ahead, bring it up to about 70 degrees. You'll notice on here now we have a rotation limit override. So we know that we have short jacking, okay? That got us out of the cradle. All right, just to show how this works, okay? If we're going to take the aerial and move it to its limitation right now, okay? Now, start to rotate it right. Okay, and that's where it stops. Okay, right there. Now, if we needed to, if there was a mechanical failure, okay, or something wasn't working properly, this isn't, again, this is not, we don't want to take the aerial over the short jack side. This is just to show how this operation works. So if we have to override that, I can push this button and you should be able to go to the right. Okay. Now, you stopped again because up there on the turntable, we'll probably show that on the video, I would imagine. Up there on the turntable is a couple of magnets. So there's 2 magnets, there's a sensor that has to cross over the top of it. I did not push that button long enough to allow that to go over the top of those magnets, so it stopped it. Okay? Go ahead and go left. Okay, so he's past the sensors, and he would be able to go full 180 degrees back in the other direction until it hit the other sensor on the other side, and it would stop him.
Essentially coming back left, you have to press the override.
Yes.
Just past that sensor to get it
Yes.
left.
Say that again, Owen.
So this button provides the electrical power to the override up there. Okay? Now I'm going to show you how to override that same program if the electrical power fails. There's a redundant system. We'll go up on top. If you take this step off, we're at the first main step to the aerial. Underneath the step, there's two knobs. Shop has labeled them left rotation, right rotation. Okay? That switch down there provides the electrical power for these overrides. For some reason, that switch doesn't work. You can very simply come up here. And if I need to go right, go ahead and move it to the right.
Okay. Pretty clear over there and over here.
Okay, so we stopped. I can just pull up on this, go ahead. And there's your override again, okay? This is a very short throw. It's just, you almost don't feel anything there, okay? But you can feel the fluid move past it, you know, when you, so go left.
So that's the one guy can do that operation.
But again, even though you can reach this from the pedestal, this is still a 2-person operation. We want that safeguard in place. Okay. The sensors that we're talking about are right here. Here's the wires for them, and they come down and they're right here and here. Okay, and then you see those 2 white discs down in there. Can you get those? Those are the magnets for that side, and then we have one over here as well. This one's a little bit easier to see. It's just right there. So when that sensor hits that, okay, that's where we're overriding. Okay? Okay. When you're operating this thing and you bring it up and you're almost up to 77 degrees where this thing stops, okay, you'll notice that these things right here, they're kind of set, when it's bedded, they're set at a funny angle. Well, when those things come to level, okay, it's telling the hydraulic brain that you're almost to the top, so it's going to dump about half.
Yeah, it slows your speed down.
Of your speed.
Automatic filter.
Yeah, it's kind of like going from high idle down to low idle. So, and you'll hear it. You'll hear the fluid change. It'll kind of, it sounds like, you know, if you take it to half throttle on your, you hear that fluid, that difference in fluid. So all that's going to do is just slow that down when it gets to where it needs to. It's trying to be safe. It's trying to protect these gears and not make you hit that thing and stop it. Now, we'll show you here in just a second. There's on the pedestal, we have a meter that shows the weight. As we increase the weight on the aerial itself, there's a gauge that shows you you're in a red line, you're in a yellow line, or you're in a green line. That sensor is right here. So when we put this aerial back to 0 degrees and put a guy or 2 on the end and watch that meter go up, that's what it's doing. It's just gauging the pressure that's in the system. on its most focused point.
So you're putting more guys on it, it's pushing that cylinder down, and with weight, that's sensing the pressure in there. The more weight you push on it, pushing more hydraulic pressure into that cylinder. So it's really sensitive. And just another quick thing under inspection while we have it up high right now, these pins, you see there's pin and a lock bolt. You want to make sure those are in there and everything's secure, because those are pretty important to have. Cylinder, on the cylinders, one in each cylinder, one right there, one right there. The extension cylinders, and the other end of the extension cylinders, which is way up there. The security. This right here is your flow minder, measuring how much water is flowing by out to your tin.
Also, Jay, I think it was you that mentioned earlier that these are 8-to-1.
Yeah, like 8-to-1.
8-to-1 safety ratio. So
pretty high.
the cables are what allow you to extend your flies. So if you lose a cable, if one breaks, you're not going to have a catastrophic failure. There's lots of safety built in. I mean, obviously the truck's out of service, but one breaks, it's not gonna come down. Okay, so now we're simulating we've lost our hydraulic power. So our emergency power unit is here so that we can get the aerial down, embedded, and into its cradle in the event of a catastrophic power failure. So what we want to do is, before we hit the power unit itself, you want to choose which of these levers you want to pull. So in this particular case, maybe we want to rotate the thing to the right, and then we'll put it down. So if you want to rotate to the right, you take your middle handle, push it forward, and then you hit your EPU switch. So go ahead and try that.
Hold on, we got both guys on ladders here, so be careful.
You should be able to hit here. This guy here. Push it up. So you can hear that motor. Remember when we were underneath the truck? Let me show you that little motor. You can hear that guy down there whining. 7 minutes. 7 minutes is the maximum. It's just a little motor. Looks like a starter motor. Heats up real quick. Again, you want to choose your handle and then hit your unit. The reason is if you just hit the EPU, it immediately starts to build up pressure in the system. And that little motor can't take that. So we move a handle, that way it opens up the system, and then when you hit this, you're not over pressurizing anything. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Now you can bring it down. So this, while the EPU does have enough strength to raise the ladder, and it will actually extend the ladder, the point of it is to bring it down, embed it, get it back to its cradle so that it can get back up to the maintenance shop if we have a catastrophic problem. And we're talking about a hydraulic line failure here, we're talking about a pump failure here, pretty catastrophic event. The ladder is no longer going to be used for what it's being used for at that point, so it's just to get it back down to its bed and up to the shop. Okay, now we have the ladder back and it's getting ready to be bedded. But again, we're back on that switch. Okay, so to put the ladder back down, according to your training guide, you'll have to override this. Okay, this is important because it would be fairly simple for an operator to think that the ladder was bedded properly, because it comes down and it only sits up about 2 or 3 inches. So when he's going to get ready to bed the ladder, he has to get the officer again, come down here, hit the override, and you can hear it. I don't know if that translates onto the video or not, but you can definitely hear when the override is working. You can hear the hydraulic fluid pumping through the system. So now it's bedded. You cranked it up to 2,000 pounds, okay, and it'll rest at about 1,000 pounds. If you don't do that, what's going to happen is the aerial is going to be free. So if you go down the road, it's going to smash into the cab. The good thing is that you know that fairly quickly. It makes a loud noise. So it's very important to make sure that it's overridden and cradled. All right.